I'm going to try to isolate the image to increase the polar disparity. Do you concur?
I concur.
You always concur.
I just want to make you happy, goddammit.
Okay, zoom in, enhance. Enhance, zoom in.
It's just pixeling. No, but on those crime scene shows that, you know, they just say enhance and then it just happens. What's going on?
It's pixeling.
Yeah, but hey, did you see CSI last night?
No.
It's so unrealistic all the time. Like, all those crime scene shows are.
I kind of like them. I mean, I know they're a bit silly sometimes and some of the facts that they have aren't quite perfect, but, like, they still have heaps of science and stuff and it's real cool.
Yeah, but, I mean, in the end, the criminal always confesses.
Yeah, but that's fair enough. But, I mean, it's still a TV program. They've still got to make it look good for TV and stuff.
There must be a real forensic squad somewhere in New Zealand. The only question is, where?
Is this a real crime scene?
No, I've actually set it up with fake props, but you're going to come through and you're going to help me solve it.
So you go into crime scenes, doesn't that freak you out?
Well, because it's my work, I guess I got used to it. I haven't really seen a dead body before I started at ESR, and the truth is when you're there, it becomes work. You're so busy taking swabs, taking samples, taking photographs, that it becomes a job to you.
So it's kind of like CSI then?
It is the common conception, of course, because of all the programs that are out at the moment. Some of the techniques they use, the lights they use, we do use a few of those and they are used throughout the world, but some of the technology they come up with is a bit off the wall sometimes. But in real life, we don't solve the crime so quickly. It's often painstaking hours and hours spent at a scene. We can be there for days before we actually find the one small bit of evidence that we need. Some of the requirements is to be able to hold your bladder for about 12 hours at a crime scene.
So you're not allowed to go toilet when you're on crime scenes?
Oh, you are, but often, you know, you're in the middle of nowhere and you just have to rough it. Get your meals when you can, you know, sometimes you're up all night doing luminol and stuff.
What is luminol?
Luminol is a chemical that reacts with blood and it works best with traces of blood or blood that has been cleaned up and diluted, and it only works with the lights off. So what we do is we spray the chemical and it fluoresces to produce like a blue light. It doesn't last very long, so you have to photograph it instantly, and if you're outside you need to block out street lights. The only thing is though, it lasts about approximately a minute, so it's pretty much spray, look, photograph, and it's all over.
Right, we can't do luminol with the lights on. Wow, that stops us filming it then.
It's not like CSI. Sometimes they use luminol in the daylight, so don't believe everything you see on TV.
Barnaby's a bit of a slow dresser.
I don't think they wear these boots things on CSI.
Hey, Chels.
Hi, Paula.
How are you?
I'm bummed, man.
Why?
Because someone just came and ate my ice cream.
How do you know someone ate it? It could be the wind.
There's no wind today. And look, it's got finger marks everywhere.
It could have been an animal.
An animal, yeah. It could have been an animal.
Why couldn't it be an animal?
What animals have finger-shaped splodge marks?
Well, I can think of one.
What?
It lives across the ditch, if you will. It's small, furry, has a tiny little brain, and has fingerprints almost indistinguishable from human fingerprints.
An Australian animal.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. But which one?
Okay, so I put these plates down, and the reason for that is so that we don't leave any footwear impressions around and disturb any evidence, and also so we don't get anything on us. We'll just have a general look in this area and you can talk about anything that you see.
There's some spots of blood on the floor there.
Yeah, they could be part of a trail, so we'll just keep that in mind when we're looking around the rest of the house. But what you should be doing is having a general look around at any evidence that you see, and sometimes the smallest things can be the most important.
Is that a bullet hole?
Could be.
Can I touch it?
Actually, no, we generally don't touch anything either around the place until we've performed different tests on them. So everything has to get photographed first. So before we touch anything or test anything, we'll always photograph it, and that usually involves a police photographer.
What about this blood splatter?
That there is a actual spatter pattern. Although people think it's called splatter, it's actually a spatter pattern.
Why does it matter if it's spatter or splatter?
We have to use the correct terminology, and the correct scientific term is spatter. So we use that in court and reporting. I guess it sounds more like a splat, but spatter is the correct term.
So there's definitely some blood spatter there, some more of it. And is that where someone's like brushed up against it?
Could be. It looks like we've got some impact spatter there with all the small dots. And then you're right, this looks like something with blood on it has rubbed up against there. And if you look in close, you can even see there's some fine lines, which could be perhaps hair swipes.
What do you mean by impact spatter?
Impact spatter is where force has been applied to a bloodied object. So here we've got quite small spots, say 2 to 3 mil, which means medium velocity. Probably someone's been punched. If you've got a gunshot or something a bit higher velocity, you get much smaller impact spatter. The harder the force, the smaller the spots, basically.
And something up the window as well.
Yeah, it looks like something's happened around the window here too. And the fact that the window's open and we've got some bloodied marks around here could mean a possible point of entry or exit through here. What we would normally do is we'd have a scout around outside and look at the points of entry.
There's a hole in the wall just over there, which seems to probably line up with the one we saw before. Was that perhaps a bullet that went through there?
Could be.
Looks like a bullet.
It is a bullet.
Well, what we could do is we could put some string through there and see if we can get a line going and see if it could have gone right through those holes.
And then would we be able to tell where the person was standing with the gun?
Yeah, it would give us a good idea. Yeah.
Right, well the gun must have been fired along this line because I can see through the hole and this is where the string's going.
So somewhere, at some point along this line was where the guy was standing when he fired the gun.
Awesome.
A kangaroo?
No, kangaroos are all, you know,
Platypus?
webbed feet, mate. Come on, think. Grippy hands.
Koala?
Spot on, mate. On the actual finger pads at the very tips of the fingers, the ridges and patterns are almost identical to human ones. So,
Really?
it could very well have been a koala.
There are
your
no
eyes.
koalas in New Zealand.
I would beg to differ.
What is that ice cream on there? You
the koala
ate
made
my
me do it.
ice cream!
We'll test that, see if it is blood.
So it's green, what does that mean?
That means that it's probably blood, and we call it probable blood. We can't call it definitely blood until we get a DNA profile from that.
Probable blood. Why can't we have one solid answer? Ah, now this is more like it.
Okay, so what this does is it provides an electrostatic charge through here onto the metal paper, and that will pick up anything that's loose on the ground. What do you guys think's happened?
Well, it's really hard to even hazard a guess.
Sonia had to explain it to us.
The door was unlocked.
An intruder entered.
The victim was in the house and struggled with the intruder here.
There was some beating low down against this
The
wall.
victim was on the ground, and as the intruder turned away to get his
Or her.
gun, the victim struggled up and ran into the bedroom
The intruder fired as they ran.
and missed.
The intruder caught the victim and knocked him.
Or her out here.
The intruder was injured in the fight.
And that's his
Or her.
blood as they left.
They stashed the rifle and bloody clothes in the bush and ran off.
Meanwhile, the victim came to and climbed out the window.
That's a really complex crime scene. Would you actually be able to figure that out just from doing what we've done today?
Honestly, it's not just forensic science, it's also the other things, the fingerprints that would come into it, and of course a lot of the work the detectives do, interviewing people and finding out about witnesses and things like that. And so the pieces come together and the forensic science just adds to exactly what happened.
Hey, how was Crime Scene House? Was there anything like on TV?
Well, yes and no. I mean, some of the processes and equipment that they used was the same, but for a start, it takes a lot longer in real life. Something that takes maybe a few seconds on CSI takes hours in real life. Also, they don't have all the equipment in one giant cool lab. They have to send it away to Auckland to be processed, some of the evidence, so it's not really like on TV.
Also with like luminol, it's completely different. It has to be pitch black to work properly. Like they have to turn out all the lights and cover up all the windows.
What does luminol look like?
We didn't get to see it because it was too hard to film, and it only lasts for about 20 seconds or something, so it would have been really hard for us to shoot.
So what is luminol?
It's like this chemical that they spray on cleaned up blood, so if someone's like killed someone and tried to hide it, and clean it up, they spray it on it and it glows. Do you guys want to see the email that Sonia sent us? She did some for us so that we can still see it.
Sure. Oh my goodness, she wrote with it. Ooh, she wrote in blood.
Yeah.
But whose blood?
It was just animal blood from the freezing works.
Ah, okay.
That's a relief.